What makes an NFT unique? In this video, we're going to talk about two very extreme differences in this. Number one is the scams. There are so many scams, people wiring money, sending money, transferring money out of wallets, losing their ETH, losing their Bitcoin, buying NFTs. Got to be careful. We're going to talk about that. But on the other side, we're going to talk about the smart contracts. What's really the backing? What's the value that makes that NFT unique? So we're going to talk about both sides, the smart contracts and the scams. Get a paper and pen. So we're going to continue our fourth part of our series of NFTs. And I'm with Simon Young talking about where this is all going. What is an NFT? What's the value? We've talked about the utility of it. We talked about smart contract staking. So if you've missed those, make sure you go back and grab part 1, 2, and 3. But here on part 4, let's talk about the actual market of it. Like, where is this market going? How are business owners going to use it? So welcome back, Simon.
Oh, this is a super exciting time to be alive, to be fair. Having just passed my 50th birthday, people are now looking at me going, hang on a minute, Laurel's got some 50-year-old dude from the UK who's got grey hair and he's talking about NFTs. But honestly, it's my geek. The geek in me came out. I've always been into programming and the internet and crypto, and everything's coming together in the NFT space right now.
And so when you think about like where we are, right? I mean, you still have governments that do want to ban it. There's we'll bring in, the decentralized financing versus cryptocurrency. So start in any parts of that conversation, because there's a lot happening. And as you know, there's a lot of people standing back, not engaging at all. In fact, wanting to say this was just a trend and it was a fun little thing that everyone did and it's going to go away.
I think we've gone a little bit past that. I personally believe it is the new industrial revolution times 10. We know how fast things happen, and people say in crypto, a week is like a month and a month is like a year, and the world is changing and the world will change too. The question is, how does crypto and DeFi get integrated into society? And short of a government, like the US banning it. Now, if you go to a scenario of the US government banning crypto, what they're afraid of is the UK government then accepting it. Yep. And then suddenly they can't win. Let me tell this story. I was sat on a train coming back I'd been over to Houston to present a Tradenology Cryptomania event. And I was sat on the train with my business partner. He got off the train and suddenly this guy pipes up from next door and he said, crypto, that's not real. And I said, what? He said, no, it's not real. I said, well, this laptop charger that I'm holding in my hand, if I can swap it for your coffee, they are both currencies. And he went, no. Haven't you heard of such and such book? And it turns out he works for the Bank of England. He's only like a posh public school boy who's like 20. He's in his 20s. So we got into it talking about crypto and DeFi and how it's good. He said, but don't you know that we're actually launching a digital currency? And I said, does it integrate with crypto? And he said, no. I said, well, you've just described to me a bank account. We've all got those already. We don't need to be told how to use digital currency. And then some guy I was just getting off the train at that point, some random guy from about 5 seats up stands up and says, Bitcoin rules, like this, and this guy from the Bank of England's burying his head in his hands. But it's a really interesting time to be alive and understand how governments are going to interact with this space. But more so, the opportunity for business owners is enormous. Like when we start bringing in complete traceability of all payments in the blockchain and transactional speed, every single transaction is charged by the bank, a processor, percentages coming off here, there, and everywhere. And all of that can happen instantaneously with no fees, for very, very small fees for a business owner. And it's that speed and efficiency that comes with the blockchain. Personally, I believe that NFTs can end up as the bridge between fiat and the blockchain. And the main issue with the blockchain at the moment is people are not doxed. And by that, I mean, they're not documented. They're not showing their face. People are still avoiding being traced, or they're not KYCing themselves. So they're not being visible. There has to come a time, in my opinion, that governments get involved because they want the tax. Like at the end of the day, the government wants to be able to say, here's a transaction, It happened in a few milliseconds. We took our little piece and it carried on and did its thing. And if we can get to a society where everything is on the blockchain, tax can't be avoided. That's why crypto hasn't been banned, because governments want that. The amount of tax and, that gets avoided in all countries. If we had a society where, I think if you watch the RoboCop films, or there's a guy goes up to a cash machine with a card and he puts it up and it says, you have been deducted 5 credits, like that's the world we're going to end up in. But if you look at our kids, the kids playing games now, they're all dealing in cryptocurrency. They're all using Roblox and V-Bucks. And by the time they come into the workforce, the entirety of our society will run off digital currency. And that's where it's going. So business owners adopting NFTs to bridge between DeFi and fiat currencies, that's a real opportunity right now.
So when you say bridge, is my book launch an example of that? When you say business owners can use NFTs to bridge. So if that's not a good example, give another example to the business owners, because I have thousands and thousands and thousands out here, tens of thousands watching. Explain that to them.
Let's absolutely use your book as an example. So you launch your NFT series and let's just make up a number. Let's say it's $300 per NFT.
Yep.
You're not going to charge people with a credit card. You're going to put it onto the blockchain. If you put it onto an e-commerce website, you're just selling tickets then.
Right.
And the benefit is we want people to be able to trade the benefit. So somebody who comes and buys something e-commerce off you, they can't really, okay, I could go and hand it off to someone, or some convoluted method to try and trade that, or phone Loral's team up. Can you transfer it to Simon, please? That's not going to happen, right? Whereas if it's in an NFT, you would take the payment in crypto, so ETH or Polygon or Solana or whatever, right? You can then take that and convert that into fiat currency. So you would put that through, it can come into your business, or it can sit on the blockchain and you can use it to stake and earn yourself, which is another whole series of videos we would have to record about earning through the blockchain. But people are then taking things and staking them on the blockchain to earn significant returns, because they're effectively becoming the bank. And this is what banks are worried about. They are so worried about getting taken out of the loop on the payment process. But for you, if we're using the book, you might sell it for $300, your NFT, it promises this, 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 and this. Somebody wants to cash out, they can just make one transaction on their wallet, trade it to me, it comes into my wallet. I now have access to your course, or to you, or to whatever benefits, say last minute, I want to attend one of your conferences, and that NFT entitles me to a 25% discount if I hold it, transfer it to my wallet, go onto your payment gateway, press pay, apply my discount code. The discount code is not a code, it's the NFT. That plugs in, the API processes the transaction, and I pay less than I would have done. So the smart contract handles everything for you. Is
there on the smart contracts, speak to having those written? What are some strategies to make sure those are done by the right people? Again, the lack of documentation behind so much of this, I think, is why a lot of people stand back. Right? From somebody personally who does a lot of investing and does background checks, and I want to know there's, real people, real assets, and things are real. There's a big gap, in this space at this point. But what tips would you give to those in the smart contract writing and really making sure that it's done properly? Because I have people do the projects and it wasn't done right.
This is a massive, massive issue that you've touched on now, is trust, right? I wouldn't trust anybody to write a piece of code. So I tried to learn to write Solidity code myself, because I'm I used to lock myself in the bedroom till 3 o'clock at night writing code, but you need somebody who's trustworthy. And the issue is, like I said earlier, 99% of these people are not trustworthy and have got hidden agendas. And even I've had experience of having contracts written, and then there's hidden pieces within the contract you don't know, because you've got to remember, you could be looking at thousands of lines of code, and it only takes one little line in there to say 0.02% of this transaction always gets written to this wallet. And it's like the scenario where, imagine if you could take a cent out of everybody's transaction. Those sort of things can get written into contracts. So we run a business where we build contracts for people with trustworthy devs that we know, we've worked with. we've tested, we've audited. So there are big companies out there that will audit smart contracts. So there's also a world where you can go and pay for an audit and that audit's worth nothing, because a lot of these people, there's companies out there purporting to be able to audit a smart contract, but they know the basics, but they're not looking to protect you. And that's the issue. It's a minefield. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So unfortunately, we are at the, I say top of the hour, but we are at the end of our time for this period of conversation, because we're going to continue. We're going to keep bringing you more and more in NFTs, in education, and you're going to watch our launch, which will be at the end of April. I'm going to privately share with you, Simon, what we're going to do on our NFTs and how we're going to launch. We're super excited about it. Super excited to have you on the team. My son and I are in one of your projects, which is how we met through Alex Stern, who's one of my dearest friends. And we look forward to having you back, Simon. Thank you.
No, and thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Those of you listening, and watching, if you're like, oh my gosh, I have all these questions, you go straight into the comments. I also have a page where you go to askloral.com. Askloral.com, you can make a request, you can ask questions, you can type an entire paragraph of things, and we come live regularly answering those questions, and I bring experts as needed to make sure that happens for you.
So before we get to the end, I want you to subscribe to my channel. I want you to click on the link, hit the notification button. And if you want more information, you got to put it in the comments, because the comments inform me on what videos to come. Before we end today, I can tell you, you need to stay on our list. We will be continuing conversations and education. We're actually going to be even launching a few NFTs. So I want you to stay tuned, stay with us. And to get started, if you're really serious about, committed about a conversation, click on the link below, fill out the application, have a one-on-one conversation with our team on how we can help you get the education, stay away from the scams, and make a lot of money. We'll talk tomorrow.